All
Getting
right, go ahead.
started. Okay, going live. Greetings in the love and in the light of the one infinite creator. Uh, we are here today reading Law of One, session 99. Um, and it was from November 18, 1982. And Desiree will be reading the questions, and I'll be reading the raw part. I am Ra. I greet you in the love and in the light of the one infinite creator. We communicate now.
Would you please give me the condition of the instrument?
I am Ra. This instrument's physical deficit continues, but has the potential for the lessening due to the removal in your probable future of foodstuffs to which the instrument has significant allergy. The vital energy levels are somewhat lessened than the last asking, but remain strong. The change in the mental emotional energy level is towards the distortion of the weakening of this complex.
What are the foodstuffs that are creating the allergic reaction?
I am Raw. That which you call the buttermilk, though appropriately used in the healing work undertaken for the throat and chest areas, is the substance to which the entity has allergy.
The instrument asks if it will be all right to keep the small gold cross on while she is in one of these sessions, or will it cause some distortion that is not advisable?
I am Raw. We scan the mental distortions of the instrument. Although the presence of the metallic substance is, in general, not recommended, in this instance, as we find those distortions weakening the mental emotional complex of the instrument due to its empathic distortions, the figure is specifically recommended for use by this instrument. We would request that, should any strengthening be done to the chain, as we find intended by this instrument, the strengthening links which symbolize eternity to this instrument be as high in purity or higher than the remainder of the device. In this nexus, that which this device represents to this instrument is a much needed strengthener of the mental emotional patterns which have been much disrupted from the usual configuration of distortions.
Is there anything further that needs to be done for or by the instrument to remove the magical working or any of its after effects on her throat area by her fifth density negative companion?
I am Raw. No.
Finally, of the preliminary questions, one from Jim stating, for the last 3 weeks, I have often been at the edge of anger and frustration, have had a nearly constant dull pain in my indigo ray center, and have felt quite drained of energy. Would Rob comment on the source of these experiences and any thoughts or actions that might alleviate it?
I am Raw. As in all distortions, the source is the limit of the viewpoint. We may, without serious infringement, suggest three courses of behavior which shall operate upon the distortion expressed. Firstly, it would be well for the scribe to engage, if not daily, then as nearly so as possible, in a solitary strenuous activity which brings this entity to the true physical weariness. Further, although any activity may suffice, an activity chosen for its intended service to the harmony of the group would be quite efficacious. The second activity is some of your space time and time space taken by the entity directly or as nearly so as possible to the strenuous activity for solitary contemplation. Thirdly, the enthusiastic pursuit of the balancing and silent meditation cannot be deleted from the list of helpful activities for this entity. We may note that the great forte of the scribe is summed in the inadequate sound vibration complex power. The flow of power, just as the flow of love or wisdom, is enabled not by the chary, which means cautious, wary, shy, ungenerous, conserver of its use, but by the constant user. The physical manifestation of power being either constructive or destructive strenuous activity. The power filled entity must needs exercise that manifestation. This entity experiences a distortion in the direction of an excess of stored energy. It is well to know the self and to guard the use those attributes which the self has provided for its learning and its service. So I just wanted to pause there to see if anyone wanted to comment on what's been said so far. Because they talked about
Settles
allergies.
in-
We talked about that a lot last week, but I don't know if
When he said viewpoint, was he talking about Jim's viewpoint?
So in this most recent one,
Yeah.
viewpoint. So
Towards the beginning of that question that you just
Okay.
answered.
Yeah, because the question was asked for Jim.
yes, yeah. As in all distortions, the source is the limit of the viewpoint. We may, without serious infringement, suggest 3 courses. Okay.
Limit
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
viewpoint.
it is-
So
it
is the
is-
viewpoint referring his indigo ray or him in general?
Mhm.
Because he
So
said that he had a blockage in his indigo ray. Sorry.
Yeah, you're right. And there's actually another section. Maybe we want to mention here. Jim actually has a commentary that may be helpful in understanding this. Most people would probably not have described the feeling of not quite being whole and in harmony, which our group experienced during the fall of 1982, as true disharmony. Yet, as one moves further along the path of seeking light and begins to stand closer to it, as we were privileged to do in the raw contact, even the smallest lapses of harmony, when left unresolved, can become targets of opportunity for those, such as our friend of negative polarity, to intensify. These psychic greetings can become great opportunities to heal those lapses of harmony and to move even farther and faster upon the evolutionary journey, because what such a negative entity is actually doing when it intensifies one's disharmonious choices is pointing out to you weak points which you might have missed in your own conscious seeking. But one must take quick and thorough action in order to unravel these distortions in one's beingness, or further confusion and difficulty may ensue. Again, due to, first, your original free will choice, second, the intensification of that choice by the negative entity, and third, by lack of attention on your part, in finally resolving the distortion and balancing it. Fortunately, most people do not have to deal with the magical abilities of a 5th density entity, but with the lesser abilities of the 4th density minions, who are usually quite effective on their own. Thus, as Carla was finally getting rid of the effects of the intensification of her blue ray blockage concerning renting and then cleaning the house next to the airport in Atlanta, I began to notice an increase in my pre-incarnatively chosen distortion of anger frustration. Notice the fundamental principle in Ra's first sentence in response to my question. All of our distortions and thus all our learnings are the result of the limitation of the viewpoint. We limit our points of view consciously or unconsciously, pre-incarnatively or during the incarnation, in order to gain a certain bias that may then draw into it the opposite bias and offer us the opportunity for balance. By being able to see each bias as an opportunity for the creator to know itself and for us to know ourselves as the creator, we more and more become able to accept ourselves. We become able to find love and acceptance not only in ourselves, but in others who share our characteristics, and our viewpoint is widened by our efforts to learn and to serve. Such growth is not possible without biases or distortions, and these biases and distortions are not possible without the choice to limit the viewpoint in one way or another. So we determine what lessons and services we shall attempt during any incarnation by the way in which we limit our viewpoint. All right. So I don't know if that answered the question, but what came to me while I was reading this is that indeed, when we incarnate, we're limiting our viewpoint to the view from one host body, because we are an infinite creator, but we're limiting our view from just one body in the creation.
Yeah, 100%. I kind of see that whole thing as like when you incarnate, when you've got this kind of, you're born with these set of distortions, you're born into this life, into this path, into all of these catalysts and these things that you're pre-incarnatedly chosen. And, like all of those things, when you add it all together, give you a specific way of viewing the world. Like that how you understand it from all of your experiential knowledge, so yeah, I think it's because when they talk about you being the creator, how you with your thoughts you create the world, like Buddha said, or whatever, yeah, anyway, awesome.
Michelle, did that answer your question, or did you have any further questions?
That was Mesha.
Oh, Mesha. Misha, sorry.
Yeah, because I guess our viewpoint that we're having in this incarnation is affecting our other incarnations simultaneously, since everything is here and now? Because
Yeah,
I've
Going
been
back to that
having,
part in the reading.
once
Okay.
again, I think that all comes down to how you deal with the catalyst. You know, when if you take that on and you balance those distortions, then and you know that it creates, then essentially that same balancing of the distortions is passed throughout the multi, you know, dimensional self, I suppose. You know, it says at some point that you've got the, yeah, every single action that you do, service to others, service to self, they're all slightly polarizing actions on the greater whole that, you know, you essentially a fractured part of.
yeah, that makes as much sense. And I've been experiencing lately having these, like, especially when I lay down to go to sleep at night, I see visions of beings, and I'm thinking that these are my other selves that I'm sending love to as I'm falling asleep. And um, then it's like I'm having dreams about them and what they're doing and what their lives are like. And I don't know if it's just fantasy but that intrigued me, this idea of the viewpoint is
Mhm.
my
It,
view.
intri- it intrigues me what you just said though, because I have been experiencing the same things, different timelines and stuff like that, through dreams. So I don't think
Yeah.
it's fantasy. I think it's just you're plugging in to other
I have to
yous.
say, I've had quite a few meditative experiences in the past. You know, when I have, you know, I do it quite a lot. So you know, but lots of things where I am separated into parts. Yeah, I've had lots of them where I'm looking at each energy body separately, and I've had lots of them where it's like I've got kind of ancestral kind of guide and a
Yeah.
kind of a kind of angelic guide and a kind of
Mm.
higher self, if that makes sense. But it's like
Yeah.
me fractured into separate parts. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
I've been actually playing with the angels, and that came to me during the summer to invoke their presence, their energy fields, and to kind of play with the angels. And been a whole new realm has opened up for me.
Yeah, I had incredible experiences when I was reading Elias Levi. You know, the kind of the occult philosopher, the French. Yeah. Anyway, he wrote loads of books about magic, and one of the things he wrote about, I think it's in the he wrote quite a few. It's one of the ones that describes all the processes used in you know, occult magic. And basically, he talks about how everyone has three angels. Yeah, you can't get rid of them. They always there. You know, and essentially they are different kind of angelic parts of the self that create this kind of barrier around you. And essentially, if you think good things and you communicate with them with love and with good intention, then literally they can change the entire world for you. But you've got to kind of have them on your side for getting them to do
Mm.
things, you know. But the main
Yeah.
thing that they stand there is they protect you from this like sea of demon entities that would just love to dive in and take over. So, you know, like you have to kind of mind how you think to keep them on side to keep you all protected. And it's a really kind of cool system when you think about it. And I don't know, I've meditated on that and I've met my three angels multiple times. So I can say that is something
Awesome.
that I have a real kind of like yes, a real kind of like you know, I tried that and it worked for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
I
anyway,
remember in the LL archives, it did mention that you have a male, a female, and an ambiguous gender spirit guide.
okay, that's basically what I had. Yeah, I had like a huge guy, like absolutely like 8 foot tall, wearing this kind of weird thing. He didn't really look human. He had like he looked alienish. It was weird. And then like a really kind of small, like cherub type kind of girl, like really bright, glowing hair, really like pretty, but like a child, and like super like glowing bright, like absolutely beautiful. And then the other one was basically just like this weird energy ball that makes my ears and eyes hurt. It was really cool.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
The one thing that resonated with me for this particular question was that they've got a good little 3-step program for if you have a lot of anger and frustration. And it's like, one, get some exercise. I'm feeling aerobic exercise, you know, like get your heart pumping and things like
Yeah,
that. But it says,
cardio.
yeah, especially it says intended to the harmony of the group would be quite efficacious. So if you were doing something to help your group, like
build
some gardening
something
or
or
building something, constructive, like
carrying water.
mhm. Yeah, and I think that dovetails with here when the end of the answer when they were saying physical manifestation of power being either constructive or destructive strenuous activity, and so that deals with the strenuous activity that he's talking about over here in the first one. And so constructive strenuous activity would certainly be more service to others, and power-filled entity must needs exercise that manifestation, even like doing the laundry if you're doing it manually, carrying heavy buckets and things, that would be strenuous. And then the second activity is solitary contemplation, and then the third one is meditation. So it distinguishes those two: solitary contemplation, where you're just sitting and you're thinking, and then silent meditation, where I guess it's more on listening to the divine within. That's what Jim usually interprets it as, anyways.
Yeah, they've spoken about that a few
Makes
times, like
sense.
the three things that you can do, being kind of like normally. I think they mentioned it a couple of times where it's prayer, meditation, and contemplation, and they all kind of get you to the same place where you can view something in an alternative way to get it. I don't know. They've mentioned it a few times. Anyway, sorry.
All right. Did we want to continue? Or any? Yeah. Okay.
Okay. We now have an additional set of tarot images. We will refer to them as the Royal Road images, since that's the name of the book they came from. They are similar to, but in some instances different from, the C.C. Zane images. Which of these two sets are closer to Ra's original intention? And if they are mixed, let me know that.
I am Ra. The principle which moves in accordance with the dynamics of teach learning with most efficacy is constancy. We could explore the archetypal mind using that set of images produced by the one known as Thothman, or we could use those which have been used. In point of fact, those which have been used have some subtleties which enrich the questioning. As we have said, this set of images is not which we gave. This is not material. We could use any of a multitude of devised tarot sets. Although this must be at the discretion of the questioner, we suggest the maintaining of one and only one set of distorted images to be used for the querying, and note that the images you now use are good. All right.
The only problem, there we go. The only problem is something that I am sure is quite foreign to Ra's way of thinking, which is called copyright laws. We have been unable to get copyright privileges from the publishers of the cards that we started with, and we'll have to circumnavigate the problem some way or another, which could conceivably cause us to use a different set of images as we go along. The wings of card 5, I'm guessing, have to do with a protection over they're above the significant, gosh, can't speak, the significator of the mind. And I'm guessing they are a symbol of protection. Is this in any way correct?
I am Ra. Let us say that you are not incorrect, but rather less than correct. The significator owns a covenant with the spirit, which it shall in some cases manifest through the thought and action of the adept. If there is protection in a promise, then you have chosen the correct sound vibration. For the outstretched wings of spirit, high above manifestation, yet draw the caged mind onwards. I just want to open these images so that we have a look at what they're talking about. Card 5.
So this right here is the card that they're referring to in the deck that they're referring to?
Yes.
Or is
yes.
this the original one that they use?
No, this is the one that's been modified after Ra's recommendations. So I believe these are the wings that they're referring to right out there. Here it was saying the wings of card 5. I'm guessing that's protection over the significator of the mind. And so, Ed, do you want to comment on what Ra's saying here? Oh, is Ed with us? Oh, Ed
Oh,
left.
he
Oh.
he might have dropped.
Oh, okay. He might have dropped. Okay. All right. Well, yeah. So this is the card right here. The Hierophant. All right. I guess we'll keep going for now, unless anyone wants to comment.
Nope. All right. Thank you. Card number 6, I see as the transformation of the mind. The male's crossed arms representing transformation. Transformation being possible either towards the left or the right hand path. The right hand path being beckoned or led by the female, the potentiator. The one on the right having the serpent of wisdom at the brow and being fully clothed. The one on the left having less clothing and indicating that the matrix were the matrix or the potentiator would be more concerned and attracted to the physical illusion as the left-hand path is chosen, and more concerned and attracted to the mental as the right-hand path is chosen. The creature above points an arrow at the left-hand path, indicating that if this path is chosen, the chips, shall we say, will fall where they may. The path being unprotected as far as the random activity of catalysts. And the intellectual abilities of the chooser of that path would be the main guardian rather than a designed or built in protection by the logos for the right hand path. The entity firing the arrow being what seems to be a second density entity would indicate that this catalyst could be produced by a lesser evolved source, you might say. Would Ra comment on these observations of card 6, the transformation of the mind?
I'm Ra. We shall speak upon several aspects seriatim. Firstly, let us examine the crossed arms of the male who is to be transformed. What, O student, do you make of the crossing? What see you in this tangle? There is a creative point to be found in this element which was not discussed overmuch by the questioner. So this is the crossed arms. Let us now observe the evaluation of the two females. The observation that to the left hand moves the roughly physical, and to the right hand path the mental has shallow correctness. There are deeper observations to be made concerning the relationship of the great sea of the unconscious mind to the conscious mind, which may fruitfully be pursued. Remember, O student, that these images are not literal. They haunt rather than explicate. Many use the trunk and roots of mind as if that portion of mind were a badly used, prostituted entity. Then this entity gains from this great storehouse that which is rough, prostituted, and without great virtue. Those who turn to the deep mind, seeing it in the guise of the maiden, go forth to court it. The courtship has nothing of plunder in its semblance, and may be protracted, yet the treasure gained by such careful courtship is great. The right hand and the left hand transformations of the mind may be seen to differ by the attitude of the conscious mind towards its own resources, as well as the resources of other selves. We now speak of that genie or elemental or mythic figure culturally determined which sends the arrow to the left hand transformation. This arrow is not the arrow which kills, but rather that which in its own way protects. Those who choose separation, that being the quality most indicative of the left hand path, are protected from other selves by a strength and sharpness equivalent to the degree of transformation which the mind has experienced in the negative sense. Those upon the right hand path have no such protection against other selves, for upon that path the doughty seeker shall find many mirrors for reflection in each other self it encounters. Okay, so did anyone want to comment on this?
Actually, I just want to look at the card a bit more.
Okay, yeah. So here we have the person that is making the choice in the middle, and then we have the lightly dressed maiden on the left. Here, I'll zoom it in for you guys. And then we have the well-dressed maiden on the right. And and so you see the left hand side is being protected by this arrow, and the right hand side is not. And so there's actually many layers of meaning in this particular image. Like here, let's see if we can get it even bigger. So the service to self entities typically go for surface appearances, and they're just looking for the red ray satisfaction. And so this lady's thinly veiled, and she's like, let's go.
So notice the other one has the serpent on her head.
Yes, and so this is considered the wiser course, that because the serpent on the head is a symbol of wisdom. And so she's more about like a contemplative journey, and she's very well dressed. She's not revealing any of her physique. So it is,
Which needs less protection, hence why it's on the opposite side.
Mhm.
Because on the opposite side, you're more open to be affected or whatever by things that aren't aligned with the path of the person on the opposite side. So you need more protection going through that. You got more wisdom on the other side so that you're aware, so you don't need that that up there shooting down arrows, making sure that to keep things away.
Yeah, well, they're saying over here that so this lady on the right that has a lot of clothing on, she's on the right hand path, and those on the right hand path have no such protection against other selves. For upon that path, the Dodi seeker shall find many mirrors for reflection
Gotcha.
in
Mark
each
like
other
Jesus.
self it encounters. And so the idea here is that when you notice a mirror of reflection for yourself, then you learn how to forgive and love that aspect that you may be upset by, and learn to love
Exactly.
them. And so like Jesus, Jesus didn't have much protection. I mean, he was literally and
Well, he was
figuratively
he
crucified,
was aware though.
but he was very aware, and he learned to forgive and love everybody
Exactly.
that was there. And so he excelled in his mission and polarized very, very strongly service to others.
Exactly.
Whereas on the service to self side, they're doing things for themselves, and so they need protection from other selves because, they upset a lot of people. So, but they want to at the same time maintain their longevity. Like Mao lived an extraordinarily long time, considering how many millions of people he killed. So yeah. Did anyone have anything else they want to share on this, or should we move on?
Keep moving.
Okay, all right, let's keep moving.
Okay. In the previous session, you mentioned the use of the 45-minute interval of the tape recorder as a signal for ending the session. Is this still the appropriate time?
I'm Ra. This is, of course, at the discretion of the questioner, for this instrument has some transferred energy and remains open, as it has unfailingly done. However, the fragility of the instrument has been more and more appreciated by us. We, in the initial observations, saw the strength of will and overestimated greatly the recuperative abilities of the physical complex of this entity. Therefore, we may say that ending a working at approximately this amount of energy expenditure, that is, some point soon following the sound vibration of which you speak, would be appropriate, and, insofar as we may determine, may well extend the incarnational amount of your space-time which this instrument shall be able to offer this contact.
In that case, I will just ask one additional short question as we terminate for the session. May I ask if the logos of this system planned for the mating process as possibly depicted in Car 6? I don't know if this is related, but some type of DNA imprinting as has been studied by our science. And many second density creatures seem to have some sort of imprinting that creates a lifetime mating relationship. And I was wondering if this was designed by the logos for that particular mechanism, as if it was also carried into third density.
I'm Ra. There are some of your second density fauna which have instinctually imprinted monogamous mating processes. The third density vehicle, a physical vehicle, which is the basic incarnational tool of manifestation upon your planet, arose from entities thusly imprinted, all the aforesaid being designed by the logos. The free will of third density entities is far stronger than the rather mild carryover from second density DNA encoding, and it is not part of the conscious nature of many of your mind body spirit complexes to be monogamous due to the exercise of free will. However, as has been noted, there are many signposts in the deep mind indicating to the alert adept the more efficient use of catalyst. As we have said, the logos of your peoples has a bias towards kindness. So, if we want to pause on that question, well, it's just basically saying that monogamy is kind of imprinted in our DNA and the deep mind. And but there's free will.
So is that imprinted by the logos, or is that something that we imprinted on ourselves being here as a free will?
So the logos imprinted monogamy, but we have the freedom to choose non-monogamy. Yeah, and like for if we go back to this tarot card, you can see like the service to self entities. They may wish to have multiple, because they're into the red ray physical form. And so, once the lady gets old or whatever, they might want a younger one or something like that, because they're attracted to the form and not to the substance of the entity. Whereas it says here, however, there has been noted there are many signposts in the deep mind indicating to the alert adept the more efficient use of catalyst. So with the wiser woman over here on the right, it's a more efficient use of catalyst, because you can be in a long-term relationship, and she can get to know you much better, and then point out your flaws to you to help you take off the burrs off of your crystalline diamond self, and become more loving and kind of thing.
I just find it interesting. I find it very interesting. So monogamy is our thing.
Yeah. Well, it's what the logos intended for us, but the logos also gives us free will to do other stuff.
Okay. Thank you. In closing, I would just ask if there is anything that we can do to make the instrument more comfortable or improve the contact.
I am Ra. We note the relative discomfort of this group at this space-time and offer those previous statements made by Ra as possible aids to the regaining of the extraordinary harmony which this group has the capability of experiencing in a stable manner. We find the addition of swirling waters to be helpful. The appurtenances are conscientiously aligned. We encourage the conscious strengthening of those invisible ribbons used as decoration, from which fly from the wrists of those who go forward to seek that which you may call the Grail. All is well, my friends. We leave you in hopes that each may find true colors to fly in that great metaphysical quest, and urge each to urge each other in love, praise, and thanksgiving. I am Ra. We leave you in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator. Go forth, rejoicing in the power and in the peace of the one glorious infinite Creator, Adonai. All right. And I greet you in the love and light of the one infinite Creator. And may we open our hearts with compassion and love for one another, recognizing the divine within us and each other's self, as we continue our discussion about this material and other related matters. All right.
Sorry. Welcome, Benny. I see you're still at work. And Fred. I'm
Haven't
just going and looking
heard
back
or
over
seen anything
this.
from Fred.
I wonder if he's having
Hi,
issues.
guys.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, have any thoughts you want to say about any of the reading?
Well, I thought that last part about monogamy was kind of interesting. I remember reading that before, but the one thing I wanted to point out about that is with our third density, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just special circumstance in some case with the raw contact, but there's certain things that require energy transfer in order to basically, get the job done. Now, there's energy transfer that comes in 1,000 different ways. So I know in some instances that this trio that came with the raw contact, they did use sexual energy transfer. It was actually, if you read some of their personal writings, it caused some problems in the group. And so the reason they were doing that is because Carla did not have the physical energy to conduct the contact and maintain her body, functioning properly and fend off a fifth density negative, person that's trying to stop the contact. So the only other option was energy transfer through meditation, through prayer, and other ways. And
Don wasn't giving it to her.
well,
At
yeah,
least
right.
sexually. They weren't having a sexual relationship anymore, so she went and received it from Jim.
Yeah. But it's just unique that they kind of leave a loophole there for
Well,
things
I
like that to happen.
Well, I wonder though, because I wonder if, well, that's because Don chose not to engage in sexual relations. So I wonder though, if he never made that decision, then that would be a monogamous relationship between them two. So that just happened to be a special circumstance because the one that she was in that relationship with no longer was giving that opportunity.
I mean, I think that's part of it in that case. But isn't there ceremonies and things that they've had in times past where they actually use intercourse as part of the ceremony for whatever reason. In like
Yeah,
Mayan culture.
for that energy transfer.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of negative things that can be done with it, but you don't hear too much about the positive things. It's just kind of like shunned to even talk about it. Taboo.
Well, because I think that's because it's not that it's taboo. I think that the society's way of looking at it don't think like we think. They're not looking at it from this aspect. Most people don't even know about this. So they're doing it just to go out and finagle and be scandalous and have all these, relations.
Well, yeah,
I don't think
and
I've ever.
you have if you look at a lot of the cults that have sprung up, the negative cults that have sprung up over the years, like the Branch Davidians, he had a monopoly on the women where he raped all the women, and that was part of the
It was a service to others, and service to self-intent.
Yeah, exactly. So he was utilizing sexual intercourse in parts of the ceremonies conducted at the church. He was using that energy, transfer, and you can look at it both ways. He's getting energy from the energy transfer from the service to others person that he's manipulating, and he's also polarizing more negative by taking someone else's free will.
Andre?
Right. Yeah, I just wanted to contrast it with service to others that I know in, for instance, at least the original form of tantric sexuality in Tibetan Buddhism. It was about, because it was very like tantric Tibetan Nyingma Buddhism. was all about divinization and becoming more like deity. So I think that they kind of figured out that orgasm gets you very close to deity, just like the Confederation of Planets teaches, and so they use that as part of their divinization process. But yeah, it's like, and there's the Kama Sutra, but all of these things, absolutely everything can be used both for or all three, for either service to self, service to others,
Bye-bye, Mary.
or appealing to what's popular, which is like the lost way. Playing with the illusion. Yep. Fred, I don't know if you had any comment on that, or if you guys want to
No, I just I know there's a lot of other ways that energy transfer of that nature is used in different cultures and different religions and different practices. So,
I just remembered there's also Taoist Tantra, which is the Chinese version.
And the Taoist.
Taoist. Oh, okay, yeah. It's based on one interpretation of Peng Zhu's life. Yeah, you guys familiar with Peng Zhu?
I've heard the name.
Okay, so Peng Zhu is kind of one of the pivotal central mythical figures in China, and he lived a long time ago in the mountain that was later called Peng Zhu after him, and he lived to be over 800 years, almost 900, and he had something like 30 something wives over the course of his life, and they were asking him about it, and so, well, he was saying it wasn't so great because he would have a wife and he would have kids, and then he'd watch his wife and his kids grow old and die, but he'd be fine and keep on living. And then at the end, when he was 840, he was still looked like a young man, and then he just wandered off from Peng Zhu. So that was the last we have of him in the legend. But in Taoist practice, they believe that what he was doing was that he was giving pleasure to women without ejaculating. And but I mean, obviously he had children, so you don't really see how they get it. But anyways, they think that's this key to immortality, is by doing these sexual energy transfers, but without ejaculating. For some reason, they think that's an essential aspect of it. But it just triggered what you were saying, Fred.
Huh. Never heard of that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I've read quite a few things about it. It's fairly common in Taoism. They have a lot of stuff on semen retention. Yeah, is there any other topics you guys want to chat about, or anything in the session?
Everybody's so quiet.
Yeah. Benny is in a hospital?
No, he works at a school. Sorry, guys, I had to go use the restroom.
Oh, he works
so I
at a school.
apologize. I didn't hear
Okay.
exactly what you said. Unfortunately, I apologize.
Oh, okay.
So I'm looking at it now again at the reading to see what else I want to point out, if anything.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, yeah, we were just talking about Taoism, and
Okay.
they believe that semen retention is the key to immortality.
Why is that?
Oh, because they were under the well, I explained the backstory already, but it was because
I'm sorry,
it was basically
I'm
a misinterpretation of Peng Zhu's life. Because Peng Zhu was kind of like a Noah-like figure. He was service to others. He was helping, his wives and his children to, have good lives. And so the real reason why, he had a long life is that he was processing catalyst extremely effectively by forgiving and loving everything as it would arise. And that this we know from the Confederation material, that basically if you get a catalyst, and then you're like, no, I don't want to deal with that right now, then you get older. So apparently that's what happens, because that piles up, and then you have a backlog, and it piles up and it piles up, and then your life keeps repeating itself because it's the same catalyst over and over trying to get you to process it. And if you refuse to process it, eventually it begins disease and then death. If it still
And
doesn't
those
get.
broken records suck.
Yes, exactly. It's like a broken record. Yeah. And so, yeah, if you want to get to the live, that they were saying that if you're really good at processing catalyst and you process it as it arrives, and you get really, really great at it, then you can truly know what it is to be in the creation. And then creation begins to fold around you like you're a center of gravity, you know. So it's pretty interesting that way.
I mean, aren't we? Well, we kind of are the center of gravity in our own experience.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I can try to dig up the quote, but it might take a few minutes.
Can I ask how you spell that?
oh.
Pengzu? I was trying to look it up.
Pengzu, Pengzu. You know what? I'll get it up on the share screen, just so we're all clear on it.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Pengzu. There's a sculpture of Pengzu. Oh! I forgot to click allow a share screen. There we go. So here's Pengzu. He's supposedly 450 years. I don't know.
Damn.
The ones that I read was that he had lived 800 years, but maybe. Here died 834. Yeah, so he did.
Wow.
834, and this was a few thousand years. Yeah.
Dang.
And so he's kind of one of the inspirations for Taoism, as far as I understand. And so there's a
Big on
Pengzu
nutrition
festival.
and all that. Sex therapy treatments.
Yeah. Hengshan district in China. So it's not too far from Tibet.
Oh, he's a pioneer of Qigong.
Yeah. Basically,
okay.
like a lot of Chinese traditional religions trace back
And
to
medicine.
Pengzu. Yeah.
Which I truly believe he probably really did live to 834.
Oh,
Imagine from that time frame to now what has changed in humanity. In so many different ways, and then to include our obviously Earth and our atmosphere and everything else as to why we live as short as we do now compared to then. And then even in the Bible, like in the beginning, I remember when I first ever started reading the Bible, I'm like, this person's so many 100 years old, and I'm like, what the hell are they talking about?
Yeah.
I'm like, this is BS. And then now I have obviously a whole different viewpoint on it all. That's funny. Interesting.
Yep. Yeah,
So
and
I'm so
we know
curious. Oh, go ahead.
from the Confederation that third density, you're supposed to live to 900 if you're processing catalyst correctly. But unfortunately, we just became too bellicose, and we're being just too mean to each other, and so we ended up
I don't
having
even
much
think it's just
shortened
that
life
too.
expectancy.
Everything's a catalyst. Look at our food. I like half the stuff that they feed us here in America is banned in other countries.
Yeah, it's true.
I watched a video earlier about these people are going into Walmart and they're going at the meat section, and their meat is being magnetic. Like they literally put a magnet on the outside, a magnet on the outside of their packages, and it's sticking.
Yep.
What would cause that?
Yeah.
Especially now that it's approved here for us to eat cloned meat, which I don't even want to know how that's working out. That's just weird. So
it's from iron laden dye.
It's from what?
Iron laden dye. That's why. So
Dye in food. Why would there be iron-laden dye inside of
Red
meat?
meat in red meat to keep it red because
Like their blood?
otherwise
if
it'll
you
turn orange.
butcher a cow and actually leave the cow butchered properly, and you throw that meat in the freezer, with my parents, my family, we did this for generations, where
It would turn
you have
brown.
your own meat, sent to the butcher, and you get your own cow back. You wrap it
Yes.
up, and they wrap it for you, and you throw it in your deep freezer. Well,
And it's brown.
after some time, it starts to gray, and
Yes.
that coloring goes away. So most people don't know that. It's unattractive and unappealing, and it leads to less people buying your product. So they do all kinds of things to dyes and brines and different things for your food that preserve the color. When you buy a ham, you can't buy a ham in the U.S. unless you go to a butcher that isn't brine cured. They're all brine cured. You buy a Sugardale ham or a Tyson ham or this kind of ham or that kind of ham at the store, they're all packaged in a plastic wrap in brine. And they have to tell you how much solution is in there, but that's all got different chemicals in it to keep the meat a certain color and make it look good and preserve it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Interesting.
I don't doubt it at all. There was
Hey,
if
Fred, can you
you-
tell me what it's called again? The dye?
what?
What you said,
Just
like the-
iron. I don't know what it would be called. I just said iron laden. I mean, like laden
Oh.
as in like full of. Because I know for red dyes, they use the carob beetle for the red dyes a lot, and that is what you're going to get in the high quality meat that's organic and promotes, good health and everything, and doesn't use any chemicals and stuff. The stuff from places that don't give a shit, they're gonna, if they have rust water, they're gonna soak the meat in it. I mean, they'll do whatever they can do, as long as they can get away with it.
I haven't bought beef, especially beef from a store in years. Because all the people here eat beef, so I buy a grass-fed beef cow from a friend I know that raises them. And the meat from, say, hamburger, it's so different from the stuff you get in the store. So different. It's 100% better. If you're gonna,
Yep,
beef.
it's the same way
So
with
does all
anything.
of that explain why it's magnetic?
So the iron in the dye,
The
iron is
right?
magnetic.
Uh-huh.
That's what I was saying. Okay, that's what I was getting at. All right.
Yeah.
That
Plus,
is
don't
actually
they,
a great explanation.
Don't they give a lot of antibiotics too? Maybe that has some metals in it too.
Well, they're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to butcher an animal that's been given antibiotics within a certain amount of time frame before it's consumed. If you get
Okay.
that they actually, like on a dairy farm, they will if a cow accidentally gives milk when they're being treated with antibiotics, you have to throw away that whole batch of milk, which is like 40,000 gallons. So it happens. It sucks when it happens. And a lot of times what people don't realize, you see these videos on TikTok and this and that. Well, oh, they're dumping milk down the drain. That's why milk prices are so high. No, somebody caught a video of a farmer having to dump milk because there was antibiotics or something in the milk, and it contaminated it. And one of the detectors went off, and they had to dump the milk. So,
except in Canada. In Canada, we dump milk because the price is too low.
Wait, what?
Oh,
is
yeah,
that a
that
smart
happens.
remark?
But Andre, if they are doing that, even if they are doing that, chances are you're not going to see a video of them doing it for that reason.
Oh no, they do it because the government tells them. It's because we have a fascist dairy and egg industry, so the government has complete control over everything that happens from
Oh.
how it's produced, where it's produced, who produces it, who it's sold by, how much is produced, like all aspects of it. It's basically exactly Nazi fascism, but only in the domain of eggs and dairy. And what's kind of funny is that after the chickens are done laying eggs, they gas them in a gas chamber,
Oh, that's awful.
just like the Jews. Yeah,
Oh, why don't they just use them for soup chickens or something?
because it's fascism.
Oh, that's awful.
They
I
don't
have
want
chickens.
to upset the meat market.
Oh,
or
I love
whatever.
my chickens. I can't even kill my old hens.
Yes,
It's not happening.
that's how we do it in Canada.
Oh,
So the
that's sad.
Now you
government
guys know what
makes-
fascism really is.
So
I don't know if they do that here.
of the eggs and dairy then.
So sometimes the government says, okay, we've produced enough milk. Okay, you're going to dump all of your milk this month
Do you get
because
paid
we
for
don't
it?
need it. Yeah, they still get paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they get paid whether or not they do it or not, because they're owned by the government, and like the government is regularly giving them like they claim to be unsubsidized, but whenever the government does anything that might cut their profits or whatever, they just give them all that money back. Like there's billions of dollars in subsidies almost every year.
Mm-hmm.
The U.S. is that way too. With if farmers didn't have subsidies from the government, they wouldn't. You would be paying $50 for a hamburger.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Right.
I guess if you go to-
Because corn, soy, in America is all subsidized, and like they pay farmers not to grow.
Yeah, I've heard of that happening.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's similarities. Yeah, these are all, I mean, in an economic standpoint, they're considered fascism, but whatever. Regulation.
I just
It's
don't
basically
understand. Why don't you send? If you're producing that much, then that's good. You're producing your quantity. Get your quota, and then everything over that quota, ship it overseas and make a profit on it.
Or
Yeah,
give
you
it to people that need it. I mean,
Yeah,
I know
or-
that's
Yeah.
really,
especially in our country.
yeah.
yeah, they're not allowed to because they're owned by the government, at least around here.
Mm-hmm.
Who are? What do you mean, like farms?
Like the dairy farmers or whatever. They're regulated by the government. They everything has to be in compliance, otherwise they could lose their license or whatever to produce,
To operate, yeah.
to operate, and then you're not allowed to. I mean, in theory, you're allowed to sell milk if the people come to you.
Oh,
Otherwise-
Okay, that's what I was just gonna ask because I was seeing this thing about self providing ranches. So they are like a couple cows, chickens, whatever, and then they're selling their stuff. But I'm assuming, obviously, not on the grand scheme of what you're talking about prior to that, but people coming, because even you could drive down the road where I live and you could pull over and they got produce and stuff like that, and
Right,
a little lockbox,
Here,
you put your
yeah.
money in and stuff. So that
Mhm.
though you're allowed to do. Now I'm curious though, when does that
Oh.
cross the line? Probably when it's making significant money.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, if I remember correctly, you're not allowed to do that for milk or cheese or any dairy
Now
products in
here,
Canada.
I know
I-
here
okay,
I
you
know
here you go.
people,
go
people
ahead.
do buy raw milk. I know people that buy milk from a farmer to
Yes.
drink it like that.
hmm
Yeah, so
In the U.S., I'm pretty sure you can.
yeah, in the
I'm
US.
sure there's probably some cap there or something, because the government likes to have their money. So it's probably like over a significant amount of money you make or whatever you're producing. I don't know how they would regulate that, which they want to regulate everything because without that, how can we control the people?
Right.
So
Now they're talking.
interesting.
I don't know if anybody's heard about seeds and stuff and how seeds are going to be regulated, like plant seeds, vegetable seeds.
That
I'm a
makes sense
seed
though.
saver.
Stop the people from being able to produce their own food.
Right.
Um, I've been seeing a lot of things about this lately too, with that. And then again, how do you control people? Fear. And if you take away
Yeah.
things, people don't have
Right.
access to it, certain foods, stuff like that, then you're able to control them better to do what you want them to do. So they can
Right.
get what they need to survive. That's why it's so important as that people kind of wake up and start doing their own, grow their own food, their own stuff like
Mhm.
that. So they don't have
Right.
to conform to these things that I think that are going to come at some point eventually.
I actually have seeds that I've had for years that are still viable. I keep them in a containers with those packets that keep out the
The
moisture.
little like, yeah,
Yeah,
it's smart.
and
And all of our stuff's getting mutating too. Like
right.
watermelon, freaking a long, long time ago did not look like it looks like now. All of our
No.
fruits are and our foods are changing. They didn't look like they did
Mhm.
once before.
Right.
So that's a smart idea that you're doing that, Amanda.
Yeah, and I buy the heirloom stuff, and then what I do is I grow them, and then I take you know take a couple of the fruits or whatever the vegetables, I let them mature completely, and
Hmm.
then I save the seeds.
So
So
everybody here in the United States, if something happens, we are going to Amanda's house because you know that girl harvests like so much vegetable stuff like that. And she probably cans it. We'll be good to
I
go over
do.
there.
I
Amanda, I'm coming with
do.
my camper on my car. I'll be
In
there.
fact, I want to get a greenhouse, one of those geodomes. I've been looking at them,
Oh, that'd be cool.
and I have. As soon as I sell a piece of property that I have, I'm putting up my greenhouse, and that's what I'm doing. I told my husband, "That's it. I want a greenhouse." And you can get them that are like community. They're big enough for a community that could come in and if they want to do something. So I'm kind of looking at that.
You
You
should. I'm
know,
coming to
Yeah,
help.
yeah. I
yeah.
mean, you could even like I make my own greenhouses, and you
Oh,
just need
yeah.
2x2s and polyfilm, and that's all
Yeah.
you need.
Um,
Well,
Amanda,
okay,
I see some awesome geometric ones, like exactly how he's just saying how to make it. Dude, I'm coming to your house and I'm making one. We're doing it.
well, in that geodome, it's called the green. I mean, you could do this with any geodome or probably any greenhouse, but you have a fish tank in the center, a big pool. So the fish, fertilize your grow your plants, and then they eat the fresh the plants that are growing on the top. Of course, you have to feed your fish, and it's kind of
Yeah,
like a
that's. I know about those systems, but do you have a winter where you are?
yes, I do.
Yes.
They have. Well, I can run solar, and I've had solar fences for my horses and stuff, and they're fantastic. I mean, it will not, if you have to have an electric fence, I have a wooden one now, but I did have electric at one time, and those electric solar stuff is phenomenal. I mean, I've used them, and I can run electricity out to it, but I want to be kind of self sufficient with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And like I have my
Yep.
chicken coop. My husband built me a really nice she shed chicken coop. So my chickens are in luxury,
Mm,
but I've done a lot. I've been around animals and have raised goats and milk goats and chickens. I've done the all that. I've dressed wild game. I've done it all. I don't particularly care for doing that anymore. I just can't kill an animal right now.
Oh my
It goes.
gosh, me too. And my whole
I
family are hunters. I grew up like this,
Yeah.
and now just the thought of it like makes me want to cry. When I see animals dead on the side of
I
the road, I feel horrible. Like,
yep. I can't either, and it's something just snapped, and because I had to do it as a young kid to help my parents out, and something just I can't do it no more. I can't kill my chickens. I mean, hens are like they know you. They'll sit on your lap, and to uh, to see if you had to chop the head off and all that, it's just kind of yeah. Let that. Nope, nobody's gonna kill my chickens.
Andre, do you does your family eat meat and stuff?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, we do.
you guys do? Okay. So do you have like your own animals or what?
Not yet, not yet, but I do have a hunting and a trapping license.
Hmm.
So I do
I've
hunting and
actually,
trapping.
I've actually gone deer hunting. I've gone rabbit hunt. I've done all that with my dad when I was little. Now, I mean, when I was younger in my 20s and 30s, I could probably still, I was doing things, but now I'm just like, no,
I
can't
could do it for
do.
living to provide if need be, but only in the aspect on if everything was used kind of like how the indigenous were. Um, they use every aspect of the animal.
Yes.
But I just don't feel like I'm in that type of world anymore that I need to. Like I don't even really buy meat anymore. Everything I got is like all plant-based and I don't know. Especially when you
Mm,
realize that like the consciousness of everything, and it's just like there's feelings there. It's just
mhm.
like it breaks my heart. I
Right.
do have to go back kind of just to the reading and like in the beginning, because this one's kind of was a short one, so there's only so much to discuss, right?
Yeah.
But even like we kind of first talked about and brought in when they were talking about spiritual practices and the strenuous physical activities and the solitary contemplation and meditation as the whole means of the personal growth and balance. Like, so I get the meditation, I do meditation, I get the contemplation, but I think it said something about with the physical activity, either it could be detrimental or good, didn't it? Real quick. I think
Destructive
so.
or constructive. Yeah.
Exactly. So what would be the or not, I know I understand the difference of two, but as far as example wise, what would be more harmful in the
Oh,
sense?
I think I can answer this one.
Oh, go
Okay.
right
Because,
ahead, dear.
okay. Well, I've known people. Exercise is great within reason. You can go beyond that, and that is what you do, and that's all you think about. It's about the
Oh, and
weight
harming your
loss
body too,
and
probably.
harming your body because you're using a lot of your protein, so your muscles start,
You're
your
weakening your
vital
energy.
organs. If you don't, okay, say like you don't eat the protein, so you're exercising. If you have no fat on you, it'll start going after your vital organs, and that's what a lot of people do when they're doing that anorexic and bulimic and all that stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
people have been addicted to exercise, so you have to do it in moderation, and it's gonna help you as long as you're healthy enough and under doctor, yes, your doctor and all that. But I think
Well,
that's probably what they're
that that
meaning.
makes sense because if you think of
Yeah.
Carla injuring herself and all this other thing, so you don't want to do things that are going to actually take away from your energy as a person. So when
Right.
you're hurting yourself and you're breaking yourself, going pushing too hard or
Right.
whatever, you're weakening yourself. So okay, that makes sense then.
Right. And then with the starting of anything, you start out slow, and then your body gets accustomed, and then you can go a little bit farther and a little bit more. So it's your gentle ease into it. That's
Okay.
at least what I did.
So, what have any of y'all done in the aspect of that you would consider fall under solitary contemplation? And then I feel like because it's like and meditation, they're kind of two. Mm,
They're
I don't
different.
know. They're very much they're different and the same and whatever. So, what would any of you want to share anything if you do something personally that falls into that? I mean, what are your practices that you feel like fall into these things that are helping you to spiritually grow and balance yourself, kind of like what they need to do for just the communication, but we all need to do that period and what we're trying to do here as a whole.
For
Um,
me, contemplation is when I'm like preparing to meditate and I'm thinking about calling in the different rays in my
Mhm.
chakras and making affirmations as I move up. Like the red is I am, orange is I I feel, and then yellow I do, and green I love. I keep going up and I'm in the IC and
I
um,
know, I see,
I
I
know,
speak. Yeah.
yeah. So I do that as a contemplation every day to make sure that everything's in alignment and I'm extending it. And then I go into my experience of silence, which I call meditation, where I just allow myself to like not be involved with thought anymore and just
Hmm.
rest in my heart chakra and feel the balance between the lower and the upper. That
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I bring that up because something that popped in my head when we read that earlier. I had seen this place. There's a place where you can go and you're immersed in darkness
Mhm.
for
yeah.
you can do like a day or however many days. Now you go in there for like a half a day to familiarize yourself in your area, you know, the bed, the bathroom, the tub, and then they bring your meals to you three times a day, but you could be there as long as possible. And then I kind of watch. I want to go do it, but they got a wait list till like 2025. But anyways, I was watching they would record the people when they come out and then see the light for the first time, and people talk about their experience because when you're really just in there with yourself and you have nowhere else to go, nobody else to talk to, nobody, you can't run away from your thoughts, everything about yourself, and then like the amount of healing and the realization of so many things that they thought were so important, and then they come to this big aha where it's like they're not even, it doesn't even matter. These things don't matter. Why, and they see how it takes over their lives and everything else. And I just thought that was like to me, that fell under that contemplation, that time, that quiet time. I'm like, that's amazing. Now, maybe I should just make a room and hide me in it for a couple days, but then who the hell is going to bring me meals without me seeing the daylight? Oh, and then when they took off their mask, that covered their eyes, because when they take them out and like where they actually see the beauty of everything, these things that we see every day, but we don't really see them, right? You don't
You don't
really,
notice. Yeah.
we're so used to them, and just to have that new profound appreciation,
Yeah.
and to see things for how amazing they are. I think that would be like such a beautiful thing for growth as a person. Go on, Michelle. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'd actually had a friend of mine that sent me some slides on emotional processing, just some tools to use, and like there's a set for
Mhm.
sadness, a set for anger, a set for frustration,
Nice.
and I've just been sitting down from time to time with those and just kind of going, right now, what am I feeling? And following the process that's laid out in those and just letting it out. So I'm not
That's
walking
awesome.
around with it anymore.
There's also
Yeah,
a
you're healing yourself from these things that you've harbored on throughout life, because we weren't taught how to
Yeah.
work through them or to recognize them. And then sadness is a weakness according to society. So, it comes out, it manifests in different ways with anger and everything else. And
Oh
then we
yeah.
look at these people with attitudes and these people that push people away, and we have a hard time showing compassion to them because we all want to love everyone, but it's hard to show compassion to someone's like that until you realize and associate the attitude and stuff like that with despair. And then when you see that this is a aftermath, or this is a manifestation of depression and sadness and inner turmoil, you're able to look at that person with more compassion to help them and to love. So I'm like, and which I've been using that a lot lately, because I'm human just like everybody else, and there's still times when it's just like, you have real difficult time just showing that unconditional love, and it's supposed to be unconditional, and I'm hard on myself. But like, if I'm forcing it, is it really unconditional love? No, in my opinion. So then when I learned that, I can't remember where I learned it or heard it. I seen something, and I was like, oh my gosh, that helped open me up so much to see the person for not for this idea of what their attitude is, and that very human way of acting towards it that we've been conditioned to do. It was like now you could show compassion and see the hurt in that other person, recognize yourself anyway, even yourself in it, and to show that love. So I love that you also got that list of stuff. I would love to see that sometime if you ever want to share it on how to work through that. I think it's great that you're doing that for yourself.
I think
She
there's
did it through Google
Sorry,
Files, so I have to figure out how to copy it and share it with you.
I
Awesome.
think there's a book or a course or book or whatever, emotional intelligence, and it kind of
Mm-hmm.
well, it teaches you how to recognize why you are triggered by somebody else and how to deal with the response to them and what they're, the communication stuff. So it's quite interesting. Yeah.
Hey,
Mhm.
Benny, don't get in a car accident trying to talk, but you're muted. So if you're trying to talk, unmute yourself if you can, but you're on a highway, so drive safely.
Mhm.
I'm gonna be off in 1 second.
There you-
Running the gauntlet. Yeah, But
Did you
yeah.
have something you wanted to share?
I'm just driving home. I'm just listening to you guys. I'm beat from cleaning up after 900 kids. So it's a lot of work. But I can here, just let me get off the highway and I'll think of something.
Mhm.
Fred, Andre?
Hmm?
Huh?
Are you
Which one's that?
asking me for something?
No, I just didn't know if you had any input in anything.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, you
What
guys
did
seem
you
to be
do
on a
for-
roll there. I was,
okay.
I just I promote peace on Twitter in my spare time.
There you
That's
go.
good.
Russia and Ukraine, and
Oh,
I try to get
Right.
people to stop supporting the war and start supporting peace.
Yeah,
That kind of stuff.
I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I walked into this one restaurant. This is some months back after the whole Russia-Ukraine thing fired off. And had it not been for I was with somebody and we had plans to meet somebody else, I would have gone, we need to go eat somewhere else because there was a sign right up front, we support Ukraine. And I'm like, you shouldn't, no, sorry. This restaurant is not about who you support in the war. This restaurant is about Mexican food.
Right. Yeah, and yeah, I've seen a lot of contradictory opinions on it. Like some people are say they support Ukraine, but that there's different ways you can support. Like so some people support the state of Ukraine. They support the government of Ukraine. They support Zelensky and whatever he does, but they don't actually support the Ukrainian people. They're like
People that support the government, no.
yeah, because they're cheering for Ukraine and what they're doing now with their counteroffensive, where they're now conscripting disabled people and women because they've run out of men. They've ran out of men, and now they're conscripting disabled people and women, and they're trying to get refugees deported from wherever they fled the country to in Europe, for example, and they're trying to extradite them and say that they illegally fled, and they want to get them back so that they can send them to the slaughterhouse and in Robotin, where the average survival time is 5 to 10 hours.
Oh my
once you get
God.
And so,
Has anybody
this,
else?
for people that are supporting the war, that's what they're supporting.
Has anybody noticed, at least here in America, you don't hear them talk about that war at all now?
No, I don't.
Have you not noticed that everything all of a sudden just shut down? There has not been a peep spoken about it.
For how long?
I've been thinking about. I mean, it's. I haven't heard nothing in months. For me, anyways. So to me, I find that extremely suspect.
Blinken, the U.S. guy, he was there just last week, and he went through Blinken. He's because Biden is incapable of or incapacitated. He's unable to leave the country.
He's unable to even speak.
Yeah, exactly. So
He
they
can't
have
even
a
take
guy
himself to the bathroom.
Yeah, they have someone there, but on the public aspect of it, it's not out there like that. It is not being broadcasted anymore. It is no
No.
longer a focal point. It's like they're trying to divert
No.
because obviously it's controlled what is being said on the news and everything else. And it's like, yeah, they may have someone over there, but literally if you're not into that type of thing, you're not watching politics, you're not paying attention, you're not going to know. They totally diverted us from even thinking about it.
Mhm.
I
You know,
always
Andre, I
think
find
about
it-
it though because of you, Andre. So it's always on my mind, and I noticed that when I was thinking the other day. I had a talk with Amanda about politics and stuff, and I'm like, they have not spoken about this at all, and it's still
Wow.
very much going on, and it's
Yeah.
kind of mind blowing to me because at first it was very big, and I feel like our country does this thing here where it's like they put focus here because they don't want you looking over here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
why are they directing our attention and our stuff away from it?
I think it's because
It's
it's doing so poorly right now.
Because
It's
they don't
just
want
so
us to
bad.
see.
Yeah.
I mean, I find it humorous that they sent somebody by the name of Blinken because they're okay. Robin Hood Men in Tights. He had a blind servant named Blinken.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's a look on your
Anthony
face.
Blinken. Yeah, he's a American government official and diplomat. As the 71st United States Secretary of State. So he's the
never
Secretary of
heard
State.
anything about it.
So yeah, so he went over there and he's like, you're not throwing enough Ukrainians into the slaughterhouse. You have to stop defending the front line and get all of your military and then just push on Robotin where you're dying in 5 to 10 hours. And
Wait, our guy?
yes, yeah, that's what your guy said.
That makes sense on
the
why we're
Ukrainians.
not being told any of this
Yeah.
shit.
He walked through the thousands. There's a grave in Kiev for 200,000 soldiers who have died.
Oh, wow.
There's over 400,000 that have died so far, and he walked through it, and then he went to a McDonald's, and then he had fries. There was a big video where he's having fries, and he refused the ketchup. Because it would be like blood on his hands, if he got ketchup on his hands. And so after walking through that grave, I guess he couldn't
That's so
stomach
sad.
ketchup. So yeah, it's
He
doing
shouldn't have been
horrible.
able to stomach food, period.
Yeah.
Man, that breaks
So-
my heart.
And
But
unfortunately,
you know what?
Yeah.
This I'm sorry, because this is such a thing that I know that I'm not very educated on it. I'll be the first one to admit that, but like, it's gonna sound so ignorant of me, but regardless, I know so many are gonna be able to feel the same way. Like, what the hell can we do to help? What can we do?
promote peace, especially, like letting the one infinite creator into your heart and learning to love and be kind to yourself and your family and your friends and the whole world. And then once you have the heart of love, loving the whole world, then you could go on like social media or talk to your people and say, we need peace. We need peace for Ukraine. We need peace for Russia. We need human rights for all people. For people in America, we need human rights, and love and land distribution and whatever resonates with your heart and the heart of compassion, of loving all beings. That is the best thing that you can be doing for the world at this time, is being kind and gentle with yourself and others and the people around you and promoting those ideas. And if someone is promoting war or violence, you can in a polite and gentle way, say, hey, well, let's promote peace and love and kindness. And they maybe get and I know from my experience on Twitter, they get extremely upset about this and very aggressive. And, it's hard to get violent over social media, but they do their best because they want war, they want death, they want blood.
They want to be
destruction.
angry.
Yes, exactly. And it's like, how dare you promote peace? You're a Russian, you're a Vatnik, they call me, because you're standing up for the human rights of Ukrainians. How could you? That's not what Ukrainians want. Ukrainians want to be conscripted. Ukrainians, like, there's videos like Ukrainians, like the soldiers show up in their home and drag them out of bed to take them away to the military, and they're stopping them in their cars. They're what do you call it? Running out of their vans and grabbing them off the streets.
Kidnapping.
Kidnapping. They're basically kidnapping people off the streets. So like my relatives are afraid of leaving their homes. You know, they have to get their wife to do everything, because if they go
They need an
outside,
underground railroad.
they never come back. You know,
It's
yeah,
like
and-
another Hitler thing. They're just killing people. They're just trying to totally eradicate them.
yeah, basically. And unfortunately, a lot of people are very complicit, because they're like, "Oh, I stand with Ukraine. I stand with Ukraine," because they're standing with the Ukrainian government, who is being operated by Blinken. You know, because Zelensky has burned all of his bridges. He has fired absolutely everybody. He has arrested.
He's going to fire himself.
Yeah, well, because he's kind of like, I don't know how else to say it, but he's kind of the prostitute for the West, and he actually arrested and robbed the man that got him into power, the television producer that had been with him all his life, got him his career, and got him elected. He arrested him and took all of his assets, and then publicly humiliated him. And so, you know, he's burned all his bridges, and now all he has left is the U.S. And so he's just doing whatever they tell him, and that's to. The U.S. made a video saying they like this deal because they can offer money and weapons, and the Ukrainians will fight to the last Ukrainian. And that's
Only
the deal.
because they're being forced.
What is it?
Yeah.
What is in for the U.S.? What does the U.S. have to gain out of this?
That none of us will experience.
They're hurting Russia without having to lose any American lives, because they don't value Ukrainian lives. But I mean, this could.
Well, I
this
would
could
like to say
escalate.
they didn't value U.S. lives either.
Yeah.
I mean, with all the wars that I've deployed, a war that we have been in with the Iraq, Iran, all this stuff, freaking for years and years, and we're done with it. But they obviously, the U.S. didn't give a shit about American lives either,
Right.
because why the hell were we over there?
Yeah.
And I will say this. I was over there. I was sent out on missions into places, because I was a line medic for an infantry platoon, into places where we got shot at 99% of the time. And we went out every day. And we were given lawful orders. We could not shoot back. We could not defend ourselves. And they were sending us into terrorist ran towns, stuff like that. So they don't give a shit about us either. It's
Wow.
just fucking look at this while we do this. Same thing when I stopped watching the news a couple years ago, because I still had a very emotional response to stuff that was negative, and I needed to separate myself from it until I could control my emotions with it. You know, I could feel some type of way about it, but without allowing it to control my emotions and make me angry. You know what I'm saying? So what happened was, I seen all of a sudden they're like, oh, we pulled out of there. We're no longer there. And then I said, oh, 1 week later, Taliban has taken over, and they have our weapons. They have our vehicles, all of our stuff, military ones. And I lost my shit. Because I deployed. I was in the Army for 6 fucking years. I was hand receipted for like over $4 million worth of equipment, from a Humvee to computers, everything. Listen, we kept track of everything. We counted everything. It left there before we left there. If something was missing, we'd find it. How the hell did the Taliban have our stuff, our weapons, and our vehicles? Bullshit. And that was really like that aha moment to me. What our country's doing. Now, us as a people, we're very patriotic and stuff like that, because we love each other. We're not like, oh, we love war and killing people. That's not it at all. And it's a big misconception. It's because we care about each other, because it's us that are going over there. But really, we were over there. We weren't allowed to do anything. I mean, I stepped like freaking 6 feet by an IED. I was asleep in a hard connex that was split into 4 rooms for contractors. I was the only female on this cop. and I was in the end room, and a freaking rocket thing came in, boom, 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 all the way through 4 rooms to the wall right where I was sleeping, and indented it. Like, it's crazy to me, all
Wow.
this stuff, and we weren't allowed to do nothing. Our rules, our engagement were to do nothing. Why the hell were you sending us in there?
Right.
Why are you
Yeah.
sending us to where we're getting shot? So I don't think they give a shit about they don't give a shit about the people. They care about their pockets.
Yep.
And that's what I was having the conversation with Amanda the other day, because she was saying, I don't even vote, which I didn't either. I was like, I don't vote, blah, blah, why? And then lately we just had this conversation maybe 2 nights ago. Lately, I've been having this deep pull because I've separated from the emotional aspect where I don't allow it to consume me in anger, but I'm not oblivious, and I see what's going on, and I still feel that we have to do something as a whole, as a people. Us sitting back and not doing anything is not helping anything. It doesn't, our hands are still just as dirty. So it's like, what do we do? We need to start paying attention to what's going on. Same thing with the Trump thing. It's negative shit. Guys, why aren't we looking at this other stuff? Hillary's the reason got people killed, soldiers murdered because of her shit. Nothing happened to it. We don't research deep enough as Americans. We sit back, we believe what's given to us, and then we go on in this oblivious little world. But there comes a point where you have to take responsibility for this shit because you're not oblivious. You have a mind. You have to use it and start paying attention to look in there. We have to start doing something. We can't just sit back and fall back to fear of everything. Just like with our elections, first thing they attack is people on Social Security that need their money to survive, veterans on disability, all of that stuff. Why? Because those are the people that are seeing the shit and they want to speak up, but then they threaten their livelihood, so it forces their hand on what they're going to do because they need that. And I just don't understand. People just need to wake up and start seeing it all. I'm sorry. I went on a whole rampage, but like I'm like heartbroken to hear more about the war. And I'm sorry that I was just oblivious to it to the extent that I was, and to hear that, it really breaks my heart. And I hate that your family and those people, just other human beings, are going through that. I really do. Like, I want to cry because it just makes me so sad to even hear that. Like,
Yeah.
but it's happening.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I mean, it's even worse than I described. Like, yeah, there were peace negotiators in Ukraine, and Zelensky had them publicly executed for treason, because he now if you support peace in Ukraine, that's treason, and you will be rounded up and put into secret prisons and things like that. So
he's killing his own people.
Yeah, because it doesn't put money in the pockets of the American politicians or whatever the war does. So yeah, it is very brutal what is going on.
It's time to ditch our government, that's for sure.
Yeah, but the main thing that we can do really is to promote peace and love and kindness. Like, I mean, they're creating all of this horror and terror in order to
And we need
try
to push back with love,
control and get more people afraid in order to create a hierarchy, right? But
well, that's what fear does, and it's been working for centuries.
Right, exactly. And so that's the reason why they're doing, this terror campaign in Ukraine. And so the best thing we can do is to open our hearts with love to God, and to have that faith that all is well and all will be well, and to continue, radiating love and gratitude, as as it says in the Law of One, like that they say, what's the best thing you can do against negative greeting or whatever, is to be in a space of love and gratitude and joy of the one infinite creator. That's the best thing you could do. And it's the same position here, and then like promoting peace, love, human rights. That's what I'm doing, and that gives me fulfillment. I'm not afraid. I'm very happy and joyful and loving and kind to have the opportunity to help all of these people on Twitter, open their minds about compassion and love and kindness, and see that peace is possible, and that there is at least one Ukrainian on Twitter that is willing to talk about peace, because he lives in Canada, and so he's not going to get rounded up by the SBU, which is the Secret Bureau of Ukraine.
Well, thank you for doing that.
Thanks.
And share your Twitter to us
I'm
in the
with
thingy
you.
later.
Sure. Yeah.
I join with you every day.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Here, I'll put it in the chat here. There you go. And you can follow me. I just need a few more, and then I'll be at 500 followers.
So when you're at 500, what's that do? I'm not a
well,
I just started kind of using Twitter. I've never been like a
Social
big
media.
into it, but
if I think
yeah.
Elon was saying that if you have at least 500 followers and at least 30 million aggregate views per month, then you're eligible to make an income from Twitter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm really far away from that as the aggregate views, because I mean, like, I think some of my stuff, it's like 40 views on my regular page. Some of my replies get thousands of views though on like big pages.
Good. Well, one view is better than no views, right?
Yes,
So,
for sure. Yeah, no, I'm grateful for all of it,
no,
and
I know you are. I'm just saying, like, I can't wait to get on there because I'm like, share.
Thanks. Yeah, and I'm also
Awesome.
I use ChatGPT to explain things to people, and like draft peace treaties and all these other things, and so I'm learning at the same time,
Yeah.
so it's great that way.
Awesome.
Oh, we're seeing some of the scenery in Benny of DC, I guess. Or whatever that is.
So it looks like. Well, we're almost at 2 hours. So let me see.
right.
It's almost 9 p.m. It was a kind of a short session today, so I mean, kind of beat it to what else can we possibly say about it? But I'm glad that we had the conversation anyways, because it opened other things too, and then kind of just to see what everybody else is doing and actually, what did I say earlier? Okay, there was something earlier. He was damn it, I can't remember, but
Oh,
it
did you
was
post a question about what we're going to go into next after this?
yeah,
We could
so
discuss.
and I want it to be a group, just it's not my place to sit here. I don't play tyrant, you guys know that. I don't
Yeah.
it's not who I am, obviously. It should be a group choice, and that's why I was asking for like, oh, did anybody have any ideas? And then we could come together and and choose what to go forward with. But obviously, I want it has to be something that falls along the lines of Law of One, or there are other teachings or something like that, right? Because we're in a Law of One group.
Yeah. I mean,
So
Clove's been behind it, so.
Yeah, exactly. So I was letting people just kind of post their stuff, and I figured at the end we all can discuss and decide together.
Yeah.
So that everybody's involved, because well, we're a group.
Right?
What if we just kind of aim our focus on something that LNL Research has channeled? That way we know it's going to be focused almost all, completely on Law 1 type material, because that's what they focus on. Because I know they channeled Latwii and a whole bunch of different.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So when we get everybody on again, where everybody's kind of there for the meeting, except obviously because like today we all have things going on. So when we're all there, we can really discuss it, because like when it goes to those, they've done all these different channelings, but you can also search like different, like specific situations, like love, and then search everything about love, and then discuss that or whatever. Read however many readings, or maybe some of us can every week we can have a different person choose something, and that they go ahead and pick out a concept of in there, and then bring up stuff and introduce it. So yeah, I think you guys are on the money with it. I just want to figure out how we're going to actually do it, you know? And also so that more people can be more involved in it, in the sense of what we're doing, the direction that we go, you know? So,
So
anyways, sir.
so are we doing the topic based thing? I'm just
No, that was just an idea. I don't know what we're
okay.
going to do.
Yeah.
Like, we're just throwing ideas. Do you have one?
Yeah.
I'd love to hear it.
Okay, because I've been doing I've been struggling to do podcasts with like Ed, and Amanda and whoever else is available. But it's like it's not really working out in the mornings, and so I mean, we could do a similar thing for here, and then like basically what I was doing is that we would pick a topic, and then I would search the LL Research Archives, and then come up with a compilation of Kuo quotes from there. And then I would like give it to us like immediately after our preceding meeting where we had decided which topic we're doing. And then you have all week to look up some quotes from there. And then when our meeting comes around, then you can like everyone can go on a round robin. It's like, okay, this is the Kuo quote and this is what I think about it. And what do you guys think about it? And then then the next person and so
that's actually that actually kind of goes off exactly what I kind of said, but you kind of made it a little more whatever. And then if you wanted to, when we do that on Fridays, that could be your podcast episode.
Sure. Sounds good. Yeah, I think that would be great.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll just see what everybody, I mean, as long as everybody's in agreement. It pretty much falls in everything, all that everyone said anyways. So I'm down for that. We'll just have to, obviously I want everybody to be on board or to be able to say what they want, what they think too. But I think if you present that and share it with everyone, maybe next week we'll have everyone on. I don't know.
It's actually quite fun. It was fun. I mean, I didn't know much about a lot of stuff, but it was actually
well, that's because
fun.
You didn't do your research, it sounds like, girl.
Yeah, I think it'll be great fun in any case.
Yeah. It is fun.
Well, it'll also be kind of cool because you can even give different, if you pick like a certain like topic, people will have different aspects and different ways of going about it and sharing and connecting to that too. So it's like becoming a social memory complex in there where we're sharing all of our information on that subject or whatever it is. Yeah,
and there's usually 100 or more quotes on each topic, and different quotes resonate with different people, and so people can bring up, it's like this resonated with me and this is why, and then like we get to experience so many more avenues of it, and like I know I learned so much from doing these things because like I finally figured out what red ray, what orange ray, what yellow ray, what blue ray, what green ray, all of the rays. And then like we did the one on the Veil of Forgetting with Ed. Unfortunately, that one got deleted, but it was really monumental. Yeah, I know, but maybe we'll be able to manage to do it as a group, because the Veil of Forgetting, and then I tied it in with Christianity too, because I think that's actually where they get a lot of their terminology is because Carlo is a Christian. And so a lot of their terminology is very Christian. And so, like there was a veil in the temple between God and man. And then that tore when Jesus died on the cross. And then that's also symbolic of the veil of third density. So in third density, there was the veil that was put, the veil of forgetting was put on humanity at the beginning of third density, and now that we're in fourth density, that the veil is lifting and the more of the love and light of God is shining through. So it's like it's amazing. Like there's so much depth to all of these concepts once you really dig into them.
And it's nice too because I think people get so stuck on, even when going through the Law of One and doing this since from the beginning, literally started this from day one. Not from my journey. I mean, I've read it twice, and then I did it with the group, a couple different groups throughout this. And one thing, like it can mean something to you and mean something to someone else, and someone else, and all of those are right. There isn't, you know what I mean, in a sense, like. You get these different perspectives and different understandings. That's why I say every time I have gone through the Law of One, it's like, like you have, I feel like wherever you are individually.
That's what you need for where you're at.
your understanding, it's like you get something more from it, more, and you start seeing deeper and deeper and stuff. So when other people are sharing that, it allows you to expand your knowledge and your perspective, and it's beneficial, period. Even if you think someone's totally wrong with what they're saying, well, you sharing your thoughts and everyone's sharing their thoughts, and that person's able to expand their perception of it too. So regardless, it all works out. I'm down.
Yeah, I
Sounds
never
good to
heard
me.
of pay and zoo before.
All right. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. So
All right.
should we round up on that?
Close out.
It's 9:02.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Sounds
So
about wonderful.
we leave you in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator. Go forth, therefore,
Go forth.
rejoicing in the power and in the peace of the one infinite Creator. Adonai. All right.
Adonai. Thank you guys. Love you all.
Good night, guys. Love
Love
you.
you all.
Love you all.
Bye. Fred.